here we are going to find the zeros of what a polynomial function. So this is the function that we are giving, and then we want to find the zeros of what, this polynomial. For you to understand or know how to go about this question is that you must know the exact meaning of the zeros of what, a polynomial. So this is very simple. Assuming you want to get to a certain place, maybe let's say you are going to your college, right? So I like using the college here. So you are going to your college, and then you are somewhere located here, right? So this should be your home, right? So you are here. Maybe you don't know exact direction to that place, so you need to ask for a direction. Is that okay? So you need to ask for a direction. So assuming this is the route, right? So this is the route that can take you to your destination, which is the college here. So you need to ask for direction, or you go by what, a map. Is that okay? Now the key here is that, or the idea here is that you should know the meaning of the zeros of this polynomial so that you walk on that route to the destination, right? So let's have a look at this question, see how to go about it. So the meaning of the zeros of what, a polynomial is that this way, right? So this is not the normal zeros that we know. Is that okay? So the meaning of these zeros of this polynomial is that if you have something like this, let's say x minus 2 here, something like that, equal to 0, we want to solve this. Obviously x is equal to 2. Is that okay? So meaning that if I take this value and I plug that or replace that by the x here, whatever is it, I'm going to have this equation to be valid. So meaning that I'm going to have 2 minus 2, that is equal to 0, right? So in polynomial terms, you say that this 2 here is the zero of what, this polynomial. Is that okay? So this 2 here is meaning that if I take any value of the x and I put that inside this equation or expression here, I must have what, 0. That is the meaning of the zeros of a polynomial, right? So now if you want to find the zero, so you want to find all values of this x, so that if you put that inside this equation or expression here, the answer here should be equal to 0, right? So that is just the simple definitions of the zeros of a polynomial. So the key here is that you must know how to solve this a polynomial function. And then the question further says that this is a factor, right? So we are giving one person to be the factor. So that is very, very fortunate for us. So meaning that this guy here, when I solve this and I put this one inside of this equation, the answer is going to be 0. But this is just one factor. So what about the remaining factors? So we are going to base on this information given to us to determine what the other factors of this polynomial. So what you are going to do here is that you should have what, your first step is to use this guy to divide the polynomial here for us to determine the rest of what the other factors of this polynomial. So in order to determine the rest of the factors of the polynomial, we were told that this is just a factor, right? So we are going to do this one to divide the polynomial being given to us. So here is a simple way to know how to divide the polynomial. So this is just like in the normal case. Is that okay? I mean, what I mean by the normal case is how you divide the number. So if I give it 6 divided by something like, let's say something like, in terms of a long division, something like that should be 2. Consider 2 going to this one 3 times. So you multiply this by that, that gives us 6, and then you subtract, the answer is equal to 0, right? So the same idea here. So in terms of the polynomial here, we are going to have we are going to deal with the variables. What I mean by the variable here, so this x here will go into the first x exponent 3. How many times x exponent 2, right? So we can get 2 out of the 3. Is that okay? So you use this one to multiply this, the answer is going to be x exponent 3, right? So you use the same x squared here, multiply by the negative of 1, that should be minus of x squared. Okay, then you subtract, so here is going to left with negative 3, here should be negative x, right? So this minus this one, that should be do you remember there's a negative here, right? So we are subtracting, so meaning that you have 3 minus 1. Is that okay? That should be equal to 3 plus 1. So that here should be 4x squared, right? So 4x squared. This x exponent 3 minus x exponent 3, the answer is equal to 0. Is that okay? So you proceed from what this next step. I guess you should pause the video and come back and come and check the solution. Okay, congratulations for trying, just for trying, right? So let's check the solution here. Now we have 4x squared here. So this x will go into the 4x squared how many times? So that should be positive what 4x. Is that okay? So we can get a 4x out of the 4x squared, right? So this guy can go into that of 4x. So use the answer here to multiply everything here, everything, right? So whatever you are having, you are going to take that to multiply everything. So the first one give you 4x squared, right? So and then this multiplied by this one, that should be minus 4s, right? So do your subtraction. So here should be okay. This should be our answer after subtracting, right? So here if you continue, so you are going to have something that we cannot find this x out of that again, right? So here you are having what the 3x. So 3x can go into that how many times? Just 3 times. So 3 multiplied by that one, that should give you 3x, and then multiply by the negative one, that should be negative 3. So you can see that exactly what you are having the top test. So if you subtract, you should have your answer to be equal to 0. Is that okay? So once you have the 0, so this is where we are heading towards, right? So this guy takes us to something called what, a quadratic. So that expression there is what we are calling what, a quadratic. So 4s and then plus 3, right? So this is what we call a quadratic. So you should know how to solve this quadratic. If you don't know this thing, maybe make sure that you subscribe to the channel, or let me hear from you in the comment section below, right? So we are going to use the factorization method to do this, and so you have to know how to solve this quadratic. We have a video on what, on this thing, quadratic equation. So check our playlist, or maybe let me hear from you in the comment section below, right? Okay, so by factorization method, if you factor these two things, you should have so if you factor these two people, right? So with the quadratic method, you should have x plus 1 and s plus or plus 3. These are the two factors of this quadratic equation. So in addition to the factor, one of the factor given to us, right? So initially from the question, we are told that this is also a factor. So you have to add that to these three people. So in all, we are having what? You add this factor to these two factors. In all, we are going to have three different factors. So these factors are s plus 1, right? So and then x plus s minus 1 is the first one, right? So s minus 1 and then s plus 1, and then finally you have s plus 3. These are the factors of the polynomial. And then the question is demanding of us to find what the zeros of this polynomial. And at the beginning of this video, I've already explained what's the meaning of the zero. So it means that if you're able to factor out the polynomial, we have to solve this thing one by one, right? So you solve this one by one by one, and then at the end, you plug that into the polynomial function and see if you are going to have the answer to be equal to 0, right? Okay, so anything that can make this guy go to 0 is what we are calling what, the zeros of this polynomial. So for sure here you have to solve this thing one by one. So you have s minus 1 equal to 0. So this means that our x is equal to 1 in the first place, right? So this one here is a 0, right? So this guy here is by name 0, because if you plug this thing into the equation, you are going to have a 0, right? So what about the second one? So from here we are going to have s equal to what, negative 1, and then here we should have s equal to negative 3, and then here is x equal to 1. So the zeros of these polynomials are what, 1, negative 1, and what, and 3. Is that okay? So these are the zeros of the polynomial that yeah. If you get some value from this video, make sure that you subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and then like us and share the video for others people to enjoy.